I want to wish the Jewish people in America and Israel and all around the world a very happy Passover.
Travis Wayne, good soul. Alma, chapter 51, verse 22. Moroni was thus breaking down the wars and contentions among his own people, subjecting them to peace and civilization, and making regulations to prepare for war against the Lamanites. Moroni, chapter 9, verse 11. Oh, my beloved son, how can a people like this, that are without civilization, how can a people like this, whose delight is in so much abomination, the Book of Mormon talks about different civilizations. Talks about government, talks about religion, talks about economy, talks about failed systems of all three, talks about successful versions of all three. And as a child, I pick up on this. I love the Book of Mormon. It's enjoyable. It's a good read. It's a good story. Not just by following its precepts makes me a good person. Not following the precepts, and I see the results in my childhood peers who were born again, white supremacist Christian nationalist peers, and in Mormons, my own people, who've had the Book of Mormon and who reject Joseph Smith and choose to be abominable, choose to be disobedient, and yet think that they are somehow obedient by being Mormon, rather than emulating the stories of the prophets. There are even those who think they are emulating the prophets by enacting the Korahor Antichrist. It's easy to confound them one-on-one. But still, too much evil among my own people. Not just against me, but against others. I still cry to this day as the little girl is back in the news. Her Mormon peers pretended to be her friend, lured her out to a gully, and then shot her in the head and left her for dead. How could people who have the Book of Mormon, who claim they're in the one and only one true church on the face of the earth, be so depraved, be so abominable? Even if they thought that the girl was a self-righteous Mormon. How could anyone do that? That is beyond evil. And yet, that last passage of civilization, that shows you how evil Mormons are about to get. And it was almost banned from Utah for its contents. Boring. So, with the Book of Mormon teaching me about civilization, I would therefore enjoy movies and TV shows in the 70s and 80s of Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars, Star Trek, because they were civilizations, movies and entertainment. It was all a feature simply by being a Mormon and having the Book of Mormon. Civilization stuff fascinated me. In 8th grade, in social studies, the class had chased off the regular teacher, chased off several substitute teachers, and so the school, cracking down on us rebellions, put in a male teacher who cracked the whip on the first day and put everybody in detention on the first day at the first of the class. And there I am, going, what the hell did I do? My first detention ever, 8th grade. Now, near the end of the class, he lifted that, but still, how dared you? Getting punished for something I didn't do. But nonetheless, as he was able to then break us and rein us in, he had us go off script for social studies. And he had us build our own civilization. I mean, since we thought we knew it all, he let us run our own world, our own nation. And so we had to develop a government, if we wanted a religion, an economy. We had to design it and build it with a map, and building structures, and a flag. It was the best class ever for me. Finally, a teacher who can teach me according to my level of learning. It literally was awesome. And so, from that class, I then went on to try to design a board game of civilization. And all through high school, I had a notebook with me, and I was designing each page. And I had previously, back in Placentia, in grade school, I think it was 5th or 6th grade, some kids had Dungeons and Dragons, and so I was familiar with that. And then when we moved to Corona, my dad thought he would get me a James Bond role-playing game, which I instantly learned required more than one person. Thanks, Dad. But nonetheless, I was familiar with the role-playing games. And so I was trying to figure out a way to make the civilization game work. And I couldn't figure it out because of the complexities that were involved. Trying to make it simple enough so that it can proceed rather quickly in the game, but not compromise the integrity of perfection. And I never could figure it out in high school and into the 2000s. But you get more movies and entertainment coming out. Stargate Atlantis, Oh, I'm in Heaven. And in the 2000s, getting a computer, I find a couple of PC games. One of them was called Pyramid, in which I was taught how to build an Egyptian civilization. And they even let me design my own gameplay, which was awesome. But then there was also Sid Meier's Civilization 3 Complete. Now that one is distinctive from Civilization 3 because 3 Complete has volcanoes. Gotta have those volcanoes. And it had some other features too. But the volcanoes, awesome. And that helped me get a better idea of the way my game should work. And so Civilization was just awesome. little bit of a letdown as it ends once you build the space shuttle. You blast it off. Oh, that's it? It was more fun to nuke other countries. Seeing the little mushroom cloud going up. Because if he had it so that you keep on going after developing the space shuttle, and then even going on to other worlds to build civilizations on other worlds, yeah, that would have been perfect. But nope. And so, being a typical guy, it's more fun than to see the nukes go off, knowing that it wasn't actual nukes. And then in 2008, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, under Thomas S. Monson, ordered and paid for me to be disappeared, erased, and murdered. All for filing a petition for a redress of grievances. They claimed that it was a terrorist act, following in line with the Patriot Act of Bush. Utah created their own version of it. So I'm the big bad enemy for wanting the church to leave me alone. Stop bothering me because of the strengthening church members committee being upset that I'm a translator, having deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, showing that Joseph Smith is a translator. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know about the strengthening church members committee. And so I didn't know, I didn't have the receipt yet that Monson and all 15 of his minions and corporate board had signed to have me erased and executed. But my mom and dad jumped on the bandwagon to erase my history. I've been disowned by my family because of the church. And for what? They were the ones who were involved in destroying my life. That's why my dad was so eager to erase my history when the church stepped in. My dad was the one who was trying to discourage me from going on to being a decipherer of Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian. He thought he would show me up because one time he had found a computer test on how well a person knows Egyptian. My dad took the test and he failed. So I thought, this will be perfect for Travis. It'll show him that he should give up and quit on his career desires. He had already convinced me that going into sports was a failed venture, which the basketball coach was pissed with me for. He was sure I was going to the pros. And here I am saying, I'm going to go to Rick's College. Where's that? Do they have a basketball team? And so I sit down at his computer and I proceed to take the test. He's hovering over to gloat about how much of a failure his son is and how his son needs to be put in his place and stay away from translation. And at the end, he's in shock as I got 100%. I even got myself published in BAR, Biblical Archaeology Review. So he had to erase me. The shameful son who deciphered Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian to show that Joseph Smith was true. I don't... Are we not Mormon? Is Joseph not our founder? Is the Book of Mormon not the keystone? I don't get it, Mormons. Why are you so evil? Why do you go around the world talking about how awesome Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon are, and you don't believe them? I don't get it. And then to attack someone who actually does the scientific research and confirming it's so true, and you want to burn the witch. I don't get it. I do now. I do now. Danites. That's why. And so, after having the Gordon B. Hinckley dream, inspiration just flooded my mind. And I now knew how to design my board game. I finally figured it out and was playing it there while being locked up, having to trade my dessert for a pad of paper from Easy. And so when the guards burst in, pulling us out and doing a full strip search, full body cavity search, and they're going through my board game pages. They're having to squint because I'm able to draw so small. And they're going, "What the hell is this?" It's a board game. A big, bad, mean old terrorist making board games? A pledge pen? We're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it. They didn't get it. They didn't understand. I would also go on to get an idea for movies and TV series with spin-offs for Star Worlds. It hasn't been taken yet, so that was the closest match to my civilization entertainment, and was writing novels on them to become TV shows and movies and spin-offs. And also, I got inspiration on how to design, build, and run Millennial Zion. See, the church at Rick's College and even into Institute up in Canada, they had a Teachings of the Prophets class in which Mormons could learn how each of the true presidents of Jesus Christ were prepared to become the leader of the church. And so we got to learn about their lives. And I learned that Elder Scott was the first apostle who was not by blood, the blood of covenant of Danites. And none of the presidents of the church really seemed to be prepared for being a president. The traditional role that they tried to keep from us was that the president of the 12 becomes the president of the church. But as I was learning from scriptures, that's not supposed to be how it's done. They're supposed to get revelation as to who, even if it's a lowly elder, should become the president of the church. Section 107, verse 22. I knew about this. I knew how it was supposed to be done. So when a president of the church died, there was this speculation in my mind that, oh no, I wonder who's going to be chosen. Is it going to be a surprise? You know, we're led to believe that Jesus comes in conclave and tells them who he wants. And yet time and time again, it's the president of the 12. Brigham Young changed it. Didn't bother to make it into a scripture, which probably would have been beneficial to help him. If you're going to make changes from the canon, you probably should put them in as changes. I mean, you did that with Joseph Smith's monogamy section in 1835 by putting in polygamy, framing and blaming Joseph for it the year before he died. And so why not do it for section 107? Would have been simple to do. He did it also the year before he died. And put in the new ranking order. Because of Orson Hyde. Was it Orson Hyde? I think it was Orson Hyde. And his evil abomination of believing that Adam was not Heavenly Father. So he punished him for 1838. But this is the requirements to be the head of the church, in case Mormons didn't know. Verses 91 and 92. The duty of the president of the office of the high priesthood is to preside over the whole church, and to have the keys, and to be like unto Moses. The keys of the president of the church is not Peter, as Nelson did the photo op at the Vatican Temple. Wrong keys to be the head of the church. That's like the Pope claiming to be the vicar of God, as all he is the presiding bishop. Our presiding bishop is a very lowly position. It's of the Aaronic priesthood, not the Melchizedek priesthood. But here is how the leader of the church is to be chosen. He will demonstrate the gifts of seer, revelator, translator of Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian, and prophet. And the Book of Mormon explains and defines each one of these so that there is no confusion as to what they mean. And yet, it's always the president of the 12. A rank order, because he survived as the head of the president of the 12 when the president of the church died. And so you get Howard W. Hunter, who breaks the record for 9 months, simply because he was next in line. to become the president, regardless of his inability and his lack of conference talks for the teachings of the president's manuals for priesthood and Relay Society. And so, yeah, when I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, Mormons knew the traditional understanding of this section, the scripture passage, and said that I did not qualify to be a translator because only the president of the church has these gifts. As if somehow being the president of the 12 and then becoming the president of the church automatically endows and imbues such a man who has never made any effort to develop these gifts. All of a sudden he now has them. If Jesus wants him to use them, he'll use them. And yet, from Brigham Young to Nelson, none of them have demonstrated any of these gifts. They only claim the titles, and they don't even claim translator. Translator isn't even footnoted. It's the one that isn't even footnoted. Seer, revelator, prophet, and gifts are footnoted. Translator is not footnoted. It's an easy one to footnote, and yet they won't do it. This was after, I guess, the New York Times article. Is that labeled correctly in my files? I should have it in the files. Nelson demonstrating how the rock and the hat works. That was just humiliating. I can't find it. It's stupid. I have it. I know I have it. Maybe I just don't have it in this file. Let's go and get it then. Because the other option for me is to plug in my devices and go searching for it. That's why we have the facsimiles and the Pearl of Great Price. It's because we got the papyrus scrolls back. I do know I have the picture of the scrolls, but the New York Times should have gotten that. That's the Mormon thing. There you are. There you are. It's a GIF. What are you doing? Museum walls proclaim fraud of Mormon prophet. Now this other one has a clearer picture of the canopic jars. Why is that? Smaller print and doesn't get the whole picture in. That's stupid. Yeah, but despite this, the church, prophets, translators, apparently didn't know translation to be able to defend Joseph Smith. So I did it, and Mormons want me dead. As the Mormon apologists in the field who say that Joseph Smith is wrong, say that Joseph Smith is wrong. It's spiritual. Dumbasses. Dumbasses. If you can't trust Joseph Smith, get out of the church. It's that simple. It's that simple. Mormons are ashamed of being Mormon. And so, yeah, they try to say that they're Muslim. They try to say that they're evangelical Christian too. Anything but Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. And attack me for telling Mormons, hey, the Book of Mormon says this, let me read it to you. Joseph Smith says this, let me read it to you. Fake news! Apostate, anti-Mormon, antichrist core! Burn the witch! Cyber terrorism, shut them up! So yeah, once I got freed by oopsies, right, Mark Shurtleff? I then went on to try to rebuild my life with the compensation money that was only good for a year. But nonetheless, that's why I have the majority of the expensive items. But it was 2014. And so, as with 2007, the death of James E. Faust, which I have that as another video for you. The curse of Travis Wayne Goodsell. Not just the curse of Joseph Smith. But also the death of President Hinckley with a lunar eclipse. Because of my education that I received on the building of the ancient civilizations from the Bible. I became the foremost expert in the field, as those who were in the field are dead. And nobody has pursued that career field anymore. You have people in lesser positions, even though they claim to have PhDs, and they have no clue how to translate Egyptian, no clue as to figuring out that they're using the first creed of Christianity on their research for the Bible. Nobody uses science, nobody uses logic. So I walked right into it. Very easy, very simple, very plain, pure, and most precious. But in 2014, trying to rebuild my life, getting snarled at by Russell Marion Nelson at Super Smiths and then at the temple. Not knowing yet that he was among the 15 who signed my extermination order. Signed the checks. But lunar eclipses came about. And so, yep, time to demonstrate my ability as a revelator. So I ran the test. And then after the third one on conference morning, April 2015, Perry Packer Scott would die. The test confirmed again. 3 tests, technically 5. It's now established fact. The scriptures are talking about deaths of our church leaders when they talk about the moon turning to blood. That's our presidents of the church dying. Our prophets dying. Confirmed as fact, Mormons. Thus the curse of Joseph Smith that I've been going over with you. And so, yeah, I've demonstrated the gifts after the fateful day of November 4th, 2016, when Fox 13 News Utah declared a total solar eclipse over the United States of America. I knew exactly what that meant. It meant that the United States of America was about to fall. That we are now in the latter days. That all the scriptures have been telling us about. I knew it. That Zion was about to come forth. What I've been waiting for my whole life. What I have been prepared for. Being taught and raised up as a seer, as a prophet, as a revelator, as a translator, and would go on to show Mormons that I have the keys of Moses to be the head of the church. And just like Joseph Smith, they reject me too. So, Trump Ice 2025. Trump is sending letters to refugees in Mill Creek. Gotta go. Gotta go. They've already cut off the funding for refugees here in the state of Utah. State of Utah is panicked. They don't know what to do. They're trying to not do it, to defy Trump. Mormons are protesting Trump. They voted him in to do what he said he was going to do. And now that he's doing it, they don't like that he's doing it. You thought he was just joking? Because he's a kidder? A Utah CEO did that video last night. Nobody cared. Is conspiring with China to bypass Trump's tariffs. You don't understand, do you? Conspiring with China to not have to pay the tariffs makes you a terrorist against Trump's government. People just aren't getting it. You have the labor union in Utah who are upset with the law that got passed and signed into law banning the labor union. And so the labor union was required to get a certain number of signatures, and they finally got double the amount needed for a referendum on the election. It's worthless, guys. We're not going to last that long. But you're not understanding the bigger picture. Everybody's focused on their own personal lives and how their lives are being impacted by Trump. Nobody is seeing the bigger transition that Trump is making. And so, other news outside of Utah, Maine is getting sued for not doing away with the trans ban that Trump has already established. The UK, likewise, their Supreme Court has ruled that women are now designated as females. Wow. If only I'd had sex ed so that I can understand this correctly. Being a Mormon, you don't get taught sex ed. Who are you? I've seen you on TV, but in person? That's weird. Oh my God, she talks. And so, yeah, Trump. Men are men, women are women, or I can quote the little boy in Kindergarten Cop. It's not a tumor. It was psychologists, guys, who set you up just like they did when they were in Nazi Germany doing human experimentations on the Jews. You weren't being taught history correctly, and you allowed them in, and they were put in our school systems to indoctrinate the kids, and then it's gotten out of control now. All because we are not teaching sex ed. That we have religion, evangelical for the nation, and church for Utah, who are maliciously sexually abusing mankind and their own members. Evangelicals make a pledge of abstinence, and that just goes so well as they grow up to watch the pool boy do his wife. Or Mormons, oh dear God. Yep, abstinence only. Proven to be true with all of the rapes and abuses. And yeah, Mormons didn't want to watch that video either. Videos. It's from the church. The church themselves. I've done the videos, done the research. I knew the information. I gave it to you. You didn't believe. And then the church had come out with a video on it saying, yeah, Travis is right. We use psychology to victimize the victims of sex abuse, to put them on drugs, And that's why we've heard Utah Mormon women are the highest per capita of those who are on drugs for depression, because they're sexually abused. But instead, we ignore the causation and feed them to the psychologists, who then further abuse them, just like the Nazis did to the Jews. And then the Sudanese. The news is constantly trying to tell the people in the United States that the women and children are suffering without the U.S. aid that Trump shut down. People just don't get it. We are not the 52 states, with Sudan being number 52. Who caught the joke? Canada did, eh? And I've been telling you this every Christmas time, when you get all of these charities popping up saying, hey, look at these poor kids from Africa. They need your money now. Look at these cute, adorable puppies being starved and abused. They need your money now. Don't let them die. Don't let them suffer. Pay now. It's not our responsibility. So this is a part of civilization building. America is the United States of America, not the United States of Canada, not the United States of Mexico, or South America, or Europe, or Asia, or Africa, or Australia, or the Philippines. Our government is over the United States of America. If there's a problem in the Sudan, or in other places in Africa, Australia, China, Canada, Russia, Europe, it's their government's responsibility to do something about it. And if their governments are the causation of it, then it's our government that needs to put the pressure on their government, not we the people. Because our government is supposed to do our needs and wants. And so, if Americans want to abandon America and spend their life in Africa, okay. That's a noble thing to do, because the governments in Africa won't do it. You're going to have to do it the rest of your life, because all you're doing is giving fish, if you know that false precept. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. No. False. You teach a man to fish, he dies with the knowledge that he could have lived. That's torture. You can't just teach a person and then send them out into the world. You got to provide them with the tools, the fishing pole. You got to provide them with a body of water, with clean, healthy fish in great abundance, so that they can then perpetuate their species, so that there will always be fish for you to fish. and then his education is worth something. But in the United States of America, going to a college or a university, which used to mean something, no longer does. People will go in and get an education and then graduate and then have to go into a different career field contrary to their education. Because there are no more jobs in that field, or the jobs aren't making enough money to live. All of this is because of the way that our government is regulating the economy. Yeah, I know how to run the United States of America and have everybody prosper, but they don't want to listen to me. I know exactly how to build Zion, and Mormons don't want to listen to me either. Nobody wants to acknowledge my accomplishments, my gifts. They are all focused on titles. And titles have proven to be the stupidest of people. Trump is destroying the federal government, in case you hadn't figured it out. Firing everybody, doing away with all of the agencies, stopping all the programs, defunding. Because he wants each state to be an independent nation, to run their own civilization. But as the case with Maine being sued over trans and cutting off U.S. aid to other countries, Trump wants each state to be a MAGA state. He doesn't want to just have every state go their own way and have deep state California and MAGA Texas. Everybody has to be MAGA, not just an independent nation. And I saw this. I was paying attention to Trump's rallies. I'm familiar with his book, The Art of the Deal, and the techniques that he's using right now from that book, which everybody has access to and claims they've read or at least know of it. And yet nobody is seeing the bigger picture. Every state in the union knows that Trump is there to have them run their own state, to run their own civilization, government, economy, exclusively for their state. And it has to be a MAGA state. This is fitting right into the church's plans, almost as if the church were the ones responsible for all of this. Oh, right. Little Sister Jessica leaked Dallin H. Oaks saying, yep, the church is responsible for everything that's happening to you right now under Trump. But shh, nobody's supposed to know. It's a secret. That's why I'm in this apartment now, rather than in West Philly. Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. and the Way to Perfection, page 291, under Adam on Diamond, by Voice of the Priesthood. Coup of governments, super sacred secret nobody's supposed to know about. And then section 124, yeah, we're going to rob the nations. Thank you for selling our stock since April 2nd, specifically, one previously at the beginning. With tariffs, Trump is facilitating the church's plan to steal the world's money. They don't have the keys of Moses. It's not them. They only have titles. And they don't even have the gifts. They deny the powers thereof. And yet they're deceiving Mormons into believing that all this is the magical powers of Jesus, who has failed to show, but, in a coming day that we know not of. And so not a single state government is preparing to run their own state. Canada, at least, and Europe have caught on, realizing that America has now betrayed them, and that they've got to learn how to run independently of America. And so Canada is now trying to do that, and that forced an election in Canada. And so the majority of their news right now is the election that's going on. But likewise, Europe also are now trying to figure out how to develop a civilization without trading partners, or the original ones with America. The world has become too interdependent on each other for trade. And Trump just put the wrench right there in the cogs to stop it. And this hurts businesses, because now they're not able to make as much money as they could with international trade. The businesses now have to figure out other ways to make trade and make money and make a profit. The whole tinkle-down economics of Reagan was established by the church, but nonetheless was to provide federal funding for companies, corporations, so that they can receive a whole bunch of extra money. They can invest it in their own company on the stock market. The church can invest in the stock market and do what they're doing right now and selling it off and making $10 trillion worldwide. And Trump is stopping all this to destroy world governments, to destroy the federal government, to have everybody fend for themselves. And not a single state is preparing to run their state independent, being self-sufficient, self-sustaining. Everybody is dependent on trade. And so every single governor is not preparing. They will not be prepared. And there will be consequences. You can't just all of a sudden realize, oh, the federal government's now gone. We now have to run our own state if we want to continue to survive. I know exactly what to do, and boom, day one, it's all fixed. Everything's fine. Nope. Crops alone take time to grow, to provide food for the stores. You can't do it in a day. It takes time. It takes planning and preparation. You need to know how to do it right so that the consequences come out at least good, as best as possible with your limited understanding of civilization building. But nonetheless, nobody's doing it. Governor Cox? Yeah. He has no clue. And so, yeah, but it doesn't matter. The church purposely had him put in. Right, Lyman? Because they know that Cox will hand it over to the church. But still, the church is not preparing other than hoarding of money in great amounts. Everything counts in large amounts. I heard that song again. Okay. And so, yeah, even if the church gets power to run the nation of Utah, Deseret 2.0, there will still be that transition period of people suffering. And of course, the church will punish those who complain, as they will continue the purge of apostates and the poor. Section 119, guys. Do you not believe it? You believe the church is true, you pay tithing, but you don't believe that it's going to be the economy in Zion? When you're not supposed to have an economy in Zion? You know the Book of Mormon passage. Don't give me that. No priestcraft. And yet, the church, in their last thing on the website that I went over with you, they continue to say, our local leaders are not paid. Following the Bible precept of a lay ministry. Really? Deceiving people to join the church is a good thing to do, is it? I've seen how successful that is with lying and deceiving the Mormons who were born and raised in the church. 15 million gone. All because you've been lying and deceiving about church history. Dear God. You just don't care. So, to finish off the video, go running, because I only got 3 hours of sleep last night. I am going to crash in a coming hour. Zion's design will eliminate most of the current societal problems. And just to cover the one about relationships, the church has a high problem of singles in the church, and it's because of the sexual abuse and the lack of education on sex ed and the pressures to get married and prostitute your wives from the abuse of Section 119. But having been through both nightmares of the younger and older singles wards, and being rejected by thousands of Utah Mormon women, I'm very well aware of why it is so complicated and so difficult for Mormons to hook up and live eternally happily ever after. And it's because of the failure of the government, failure of the economy, failure of the religion that is the big problem. Eliminate those problems, and then relationships can flourish. It's real simple. Pop quiz, hot shot. You shoot the hostage. You shot me. Excellent movie. Dun 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 dun. Speed. And so yeah, my Zion design would allow couples to choose a mate based on love, not whether or not they've got a 5-year plan. Oh my God. One more single Mormon woman asked me about a 5-year plan. Lighting. Right before we find out that Maddie got knocked up. Is it Bruce Willis or Mark Harmon? Doesn't matter. The baby miscarried. Had me bawling. Nonetheless. And so yeah, currently both couples have to work in order to get a minimal basic living because of the poor economy that we have, being poorly run and regulated by the government, thanks to trickle-down, tinkle-down economics. And so you have a separation of the couples, forcing babysitters to raise kids. And, you know, pretty soon the women at the office start looking better and better, and your family starts looking worse and worse. Before you know it, boom, you've lost everything. Because apparently you did an orgy with all the women in the office. You can be together forever someday. I still remember Massapequa Park in the roof apartment that was made for us. There on the mattress on the floor. There with the sloping roof. I'm listening to it on the cassette player that Miyazaki sold to me before he left. And the Together Forever cassette tape. He cheated on his wife with all the women in the office. And so, yeah, none of that. Women no longer need to be suspicious of whether their husband's cheating on them. Likewise, men don't have to worry about their wives doing the pool boy or the plumber or the electrician or the delivery guy or the neighbor who is Mr. Mom. All of those problems are eliminated. Couples can go in to a home in Zion and work together for the storehouse. Or they can do their own separate interests but they're right there together so that they can let their love grow, not just flow. Let your love flow. La, 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 la. And it's sad that Mormons don't want Zion. They want to remain in bondage to the great and abominable church and be further greatly abused in Mormon Zion, thinking that all will be perfect, not knowing of the consequences, that it won't be perfect. And then you're going to complain, I voted for you, Nelson. What are you doing? We don't like this. Put it back. So yeah, if you want to have your wife be an 8-cow woman, she can be an 8-cow woman. She's just a 2.5-cow woman, she can be a 2.5-cow woman. It's up to you in Zion. But science must prevail. Logic must prevail, because it is the denial of science and the denial of logic that has led to the dividing of our nation and the crumbling failure that it is becoming, that it has become. We can't have people who want to come to Zion, who want to destroy science, destroy logic. That's how Zion will prosper and be the greatest on the face of the earth. But Mormons have chosen, and they have chosen wrong, and have shriveled up into bone and dust, rather than accepting the right holy grail. Dun 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 dun. Time to go running.